I think the Hizmet movement is showing the world the real face of Islam, the face of love and commitment to fellow human beings. The Hizmet movement is absolutely its commitment to others. We know is surely and slowly changing the image. Muslims, or they were not Turkish. I'm Leonard Petlakh. I'm the executive director of the Kings Bay Y, with the largest Jewish community center in Brooklyn, also serving a large non-sectarian portion of the population in Brooklyn. I was blessed to be acquainted with the Hizmet movement over the past 4 years. And I've read many books. I've been privileged to make a number of friendships with my friends who are members of the Hizmet movement. But most importantly, I've been privileged to be exposed to the work that the Hizmet movement has done in the United States, in Turkey, and around the world. I think of Mr. Gulen as someone who does not just lead a movement of Turkish Muslims, someone who does not just lead the movement in Islam. I think of him as a world leader, a leader of the stature of the Pope and the equivalent in the Jewish tradition is the Lubavitcher Rebbe, someone who combines religious commitment with social action and social service, someone who does not just speak about what we need to do, about our commitments, but someone who leads by example, by the example of thousands of followers who are taking action, who are not just talking, those who are taking time from their lives and committing themselves to serving others. This is an enormous example for the world to follow, for people of different backgrounds, of different faiths and different ethnic groups. I think the Hizmet movement is showing the world the real face of Islam, the face of love and commitment to fellow human beings, and something that a lot of people, especially in the West, in the past 15 years or so, do not necessarily associate with Islam, because the news, every day we turn on the news, and the news bring us images of girls kidnapped in Nigeria, or radical Islamists fighting in Syria, and so on and on. Hizmet and Fethullah Gulen's teachings bring us a completely different image. It's the image of religious Muslims who are serving the world, who are serving their community and serving other communities, those who are open to the world and who really can teach us, people of different backgrounds, how to behave, how to live our lives, and where to find our moral compass. I think the Hizmet movement is surely and slowly changing the image of Islam, and especially its version, the Turkish Muslim Islam, as expressed by Mr. Fethullah Gulen. I think, especially in the United States, and we see it in New York, many examples in New York, and here specifically in Brooklyn, that is home to the largest Turkish American community in the United States. I think it is sending a message which a lot of people are hearing, And if I may just give you an example, I just remember a couple of years ago when Amity School in Sheepshead Bay, that serves a large Turkish-American population, as well as people outside of the Turkish-American community, was opened. I remember some of the local reaction was quite negative. But that image was radically changed once they were exposed to the people who run Amity School and people who are members of the Hizmet movement. And it's just one of those vivid examples where you can see, if people get to know and get to understand what the Hizmet movement stands for, and get to understand what Mr. Fethullah Gulen stands for, many of them are able to open their eyes and to absorb the message of love and commitment that the Hizmet movement projects. I think the emphasis in Mr. Fethullah Gulen's teachings on education, embracing education, in fact, speaking of education as one of the greatest values in Islam, as integral to someone who is committed to Muslim faith, that distinguishes the Hizmet movement from any other movement. And this emphasis on education, which is translated in the practical ability to open schools around the world, including a high-quality school here in Brooklyn, Amity School, that produces the most brilliant science and math students in this borough, and not all of them, or a number of them, come from diverse backgrounds. And this is something that we all should learn from. This is something that we know from other examples around the country, be it in Texas or in other states. Members of the Hizmet movement open schools in areas where there's a lack of quality education, and they start quality schools that prepare the next generation of leaders. They prepare these young people to succeed in life. So if we were to fast forward 5, 10, 15 years from now, there will be thousands of people in this country who will be better off because of the education and the opportunity they received through Hizmet movement schools that emphasize quality and science and math and other subjects. As we know, interfaith dialogue is one of the key tenets of the Hizmet movement and Fethullah Gulen's teachings. We know that interfaith dialogue is something that is hard to start, but enormously gratifying when you see the fruit of your labor. I think at this point, the Hizmet movement is a generator of ideas and a convener of others and a facilitator of many interfaith encounters. But I would say that the most important thing, the dialogue leads to understanding and leads to friendships. And this is a critical distinction between what the Hizmet movement is pursuing, not just a one-shot encounter, casual meetings. It's way beyond that. It's building a structure for changing the world. It's something that really leads from a casual, how you doing and what's your name, to a friendship. And those lasting friendships that are created through interfaith dialogue help us all to resolve problems and to discuss issues and to come up with solutions. This is the enormous power of the interfaith dialogue initiated by the Hizmet movement. I think an interesting example of the practical impact of interfaith dialogue is when you see people who are not normally inclined to engage in interfaith dialogue or approach it with suspicion. And I've seen it we know It might not be popular in some segments in the Muslim community, and it's not popular in some segments, for example, in the Jewish community. People treat interfaith dialogue as something, initially, as something that can be approached with suspicion. Why is the stranger approaching me? What's in it? But I think the practical result of interfaith dialogue initiated by the Hizmet movement is that many minds are changed once you get to know people, once you get to travel with people, once you get to eat with people, once you get to make friendships with people. And that's the power of that interfaith dialogue. It's not just a nice discussion once a year where you meet someone and you can't really remember who that person is. It's really building those tangible examples and real relationships. Here in 2012, after the Sandy hurricane, our part of Brooklyn, southern Brooklyn, suffered enormously, and as well as parts of Staten Island in New York. I was privileged to see members of the Turkish Cultural Center and other people affiliated with the Hizmet movement distributing food and blankets and other necessities to people who suffered from Sandy. Those were people of different backgrounds. The vast majority of them were obviously not Muslims, or they were not Turkish. But this was a great example of the enormous value that is placed in the Hizmet movement on relief and on work and on social action. And it's just an example here in Brooklyn where thousands of people were beneficiaries in Brooklyn and Staten Island were beneficiaries of that approach exhibited by the Hizmet movement by helping others during their relief efforts. And I'm aware of examples of the Hizmet movement really changing people's lives, be it in Haiti or in Somalia and other countries where obviously you don't find a large Turkish presence in Haiti. So the one question becomes, what is the Hizmet movement doing in Haiti, for example? They're there because they believe in the value of helping another human being in need. And this is the example. It's such a powerful example that teaches the rest of the world what true Islam is and what the Hizmet movement is.
I think Hizmet movement is the first Islamic movement that has been trying to spread education globally, not just in Muslim countries, but all over the world. And I think it has been very successful.
Hizmet reaches out and stresses what we have in common. And by doing that, it enables the people to work together. And so to criticize that is totally out of line, because there is nothing destructive with working together.